So why did the lady knock on?
Dude, everyone.
Why did
knocks
the
on doors.
lady knock on the refrigerator door?
Wait, what?
I don't know.
What is this?
That joke.
Because it might be a salad dressing.
Emotional damage.
Why do divers fall out of the boat backwards?
I'm just gonna see myself out.
Why do divers fall out of the boat backwards?
Well,
Because if they fell forward, they'd be in the boat.
that was a real dad joke right there.
Recorded live from the Maddie Johnson podcast studio at GOT Sound Studio in Columbia, South Carolina. This is the All About Nothing podcast. The views expressed on this program are the opinions of the host. Some content and subject matter may not be appropriate. Listener discretion is advised. Listeners are encouraged to follow the show at theallaboutnothing.com for links to social media and more. Listeners can call the show at 803-672-0533. Thank you for listening.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the All About Nothing podcast. Barrett Gruber, Trent Clark, Zach King, and we are joined this week by Bill Kimler, who is the Democratic nominee from South Carolina's House District 13. Welcome, Bill, to the show.
Welcome, Bill.
Also,
Thank you.
welcome you guys back to the show.
Oh, man.
I forgot what your faces look like.
Same.
Bill, I didn't know what yours looked like.
I'm just sitting here wondering which one of you I'm going to catch COVID from today.
That is... That,
They're all pointing at each other.
I can't... Why did you point to me?
I don't know. I just wanted to point to somebody.
I pointed at you because it looks like you just got those shoes, and it looks like the person that sold them to you probably had COVID.
I've had these shoes for quite a while, Trent.
Okay.
I'm kind of offended
Yeah,
you're just now
Fauci came
noticing.
out and said, "Look at the shoes." He said,
There's a lot of hate
I tell
going
you
on.
that guy's right there's got the COVID shoes.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask. What impression was that?
I was trying to Joe Biden. Though.
Oh, I see.
You should have definitely hunted that one.
That's the guy. I remember his shoes. He sneezed in my face.
So, Bill's here, of course, we're going to discuss your campaign,
Bill,
Greenwood,
Bill.
as far as like the district you're going to be representing, and some of the issues. If you don't mind, I'm going to catch up with these guys. What have you guys done for the summer?
Man, I've been watching this Hunter Biden go crazy.
Wait,
Social media.
hold on.
Crazy.
No,
Hunter
his
Biden's going
videos
crazy?
out. Have you not been seeing them?
No.
Twitters.
I don't care about
Are
Hunter
there
Biden.
I went blind after seeing Madison Cawthorn's video, so there's no video after that.
Nah, yeah, it's pretty bad, man.
I'll be honest. There's no video better than watching. Who's the guy? The senator from Wisconsin or Missouri, the one
Josh
running.
Hawley.
Yeah, Hawley. Watching Hawley run through the halls of Congress.
Yeah.
And then on Fox Business or Fox News Sunday, he was whoever it is, Liz Cheney was on with Brett Baer, and like she alluded that they have so many videos of him running through the hallways, which makes sense because the whole place is covered in security cameras. But like, so
I wish there was one video of him like running to each door and just it's locked, and so he's like, I gotta get out.
How much do you want to bet that's the only reason why they started these hearings? Because they knew they had that video, and they're like, okay, now we need to have a plausible reason. We need to come up with some other story why we're going to show this video here on day 8.
The Buffalo Man chasing him with the spear and stuff.
well, I saw somebody, those I think it's a circle thing that like a kaleidoscope sort of thing, but that you spin. It has a light inside it, but it has cutouts in it, and those cutouts wind up making like a running horse or something like that. Somebody did
like-
that to Josh Hawley.
Back in the day,
You see him prancing
pictures.
through. Yeah.
Oh, somebody needs to take that video and do that aha take on me.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, with that animation drawing.
Yeah.
You know, if they do that on his video, I would watch it nonstop.
I'd make a GIF and just have that the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Definitely got to do that.
The January 6 hearings have been quite entertaining, and you know what's funny is that almost all of it is what I assumed. Like I assumed that Trump was, the head honcho in charge of this, and pretty much that's where the evidence seems to point directly.
The screaming match, that whole reveal.
Oh yeah, in the Oval Office
and
with,
that basically about came to blows the
with-
whole time. Did
and
you
it was
hear?
with
It
Sidney-
started in the car, though.
Oh no, are you talking about the one where they were planning?
No, yeah, where they're like they were in like the Oval Office,
Yeah.
and then went to the upstairs one, and then like
Yeah.
they had to make Rudy Giuliani leave,
Yeah.
and then follow him and to make sure he didn't come back in the White House. He's like, "Sir, not only are you just loud, you're sweating your hair dye everywhere.
Correct. It's really nasty.
You shake your head when you scream, and it's just splattering the walls
It's a
of the
slipping
Oval
hazard.
Office."
But
Hey, not to brag or nothing, but yesterday is not a hard word for me.
that's
I'm not showing off, but just stating the facts. I can say it just fine.
Same as Wednesday, you know?
Nickler.
February.
February.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah, no, that's it's. I have to ask though, and I don't have the audio from it because when they were recording that, as far as like the day after, and Trump, what was the thing he kept? Why did he kept emphasizing the word vote? You know, that was the last thing he said. Was
why does he do anything that he does?
Okay, fair, but
Yeah, why and Trump in the same sentence, and you're gonna get an answer?
Because it could.
we've set the bar so high, we can't ask why.
I would have heard of water buffaloes to pull a sled like Santa down the Pennsylvania Avenue. Okay, we're not going to do that. I'll choke you.
Well, your summer's not over. You got a beach trip planned.
Yeah, I do, man. Thank God.
And I'm sure you're going to hit the lake a few more times.
Yeah, I went to a
And
rock
I'm a little
show.
jealous
Which part?
that I'm not getting invited to this lake.
Oh, dude, I'm
On a boat,
I'm
sir.
getting invited to the lake. And
You
don't have
have
a
friends.
room.
No, you have friends.
Trent, you don't get on boats anyway.
Yes, I do. I just don't get off of them.
You're a liability, sir.
Liability? No, you're a liability if you don't have a life jacket.
I just want to point out, if you're watching on YouTube, Zach has literally not changed the camera view once.
Because he doesn't know.
It's new.
New to you.
I went to a rock show.
For just to point out, I was actually going to let Trent handle that.
He said that already, but you just took my job. It's fine. It's fine. You're employed now, so.
Look, I may be the guest and all, but I'll run it if you need.
So, Bill's here. We're going to discuss your campaign. Let me ask you first: how many people will you be representing in the 13th district of South Carolina?
There are 40,000 plus residents in
That's a-
District 13, 32,000 some voters,
Yeah,
maybe 20 some thousand households.
that's actually a significant number. I guess
Well,
in my
most
head
of the
I didn't
districts are
imagine that.
balanced that way. So 32,000 voters is kind of what you'll see after
Standard.
redistricting. All the districts are around there, give
Yeah.
or take.
Okay.
Okay.
So they did some rebalancing.
When I guess that was the 2020 census.
Yeah.
I assume then that the district is not mapped fairly, or your district is mapped fairly, or for one party versus the other based on how South Carolina does their districting.
Yeah, the lines are weird.
Yeah.
But you know what? The geography isn't the tail. You know,
Yeah.
the lines you draw. So it's a good enough district. I've got no complaints in it. I live in it. I know a lot of good people in it.
I'm going to show
Yeah.
everybody. This is what his district looks like.
Oh, it's pretty close to Abbeville. Yeah.
I said it was.
So it carves out the city of Greenwood
Yeah.
entirely. So the city of Greenwood goes to District 12.
right.
And then you follow that line all the way to McCormick County. So that's under District 12 with Representative Ann Parks. The rest of Greenwood, of the far reaches, is District 13 plus a little bit of Lawrence County across the lake.
Is
Yeah.
this the result of gerrymandering? Because it would have been easy to just go, "Bloop, look at that."
Yeah, it would have, but it would have killed Ann Parks as well, possibly.
She's over here in District 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's over here in District 12, and which is inside Greenwood, I guess, is,
Right.
is more favorably
So,
black.
so the redistricting really didn't do much change. So that's what it looked like
Yeah.
the last 10 years
Yeah.
for the most part. The lakeside became more into 13. It used to be in part of Lawrence's district along the lake.
Yeah.
And then I got a little bit of Lawrence there. And then a little bit more of the city expanded, went to 12 as a trade.
Gotcha.
But really, a slight shifting of the lines. There wasn't a major redistricting there, but it really is a weird cookie-looking shape.
It is.
I said it's the most. I said it's the most demonic looking Pac-Man I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
entire
definitely.
life.
Abba.
Hey, from this way, it's a guy with a nose. Oh,
Now we're just throwing oil at it, and coming out with what we
give
think.
me a
was
pen.
Yeah. So Judd Larkin's hometown is in your district.
He is 96, boy.
Yeah. That's we had Judd on the show and enjoyed his company.
Yeah, we like Jed.
I
Yeah.
used to play 96, high school.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
middle school when I went to Mid Carolina.
Oh, you played 96 middle school?
Like the
Elementary school? Has
All
football
of them.
teams?
As a college player, he would go to play the middle schools. You know. 96 had some badass middle
I remember
schoolers.
96. That's
Bring
what I
them
remember.
kids.
I definitely remember 96. Though.
Your opponent, John McCravey, is in his third. This is his third term,
It would
correct?
be his third. Yeah, he ran his first attempt. he got primaried and lost to the incumbent then.
Yeah, I saw that.
Successful the second and third time around. So this will be his fourth attempt running and his third term if he wins.
It just based on what I can find when I Google it, but as far as what happened in the campaign, the most recent campaign, I can't remember what the woman's name was, and I wrote it
Denise
down.
Waldrop.
Yep. What happened with her campaign? I mean, 70% is a pretty big margin.
Yeah, so you look at the breakdown, it was 27 to 71%.
Yeah.
And it was the same in 2016 as well, and the same in 2018.
Yeah.
Right. So the numbers are pretty much consistent. And I was part of that. So, as a side job, in addition to running for office and having a full-time job and family, I'm also the chair of the Democratic Party of Greenwood.
Gotcha.
So I got a very good behind-the-scenes view of those campaigns. They ran good campaigns.
Okay.
They had strong messaging, but they played nice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They played nice. And you may know the name Senator Floyd Nicholson.
Yeah.
He got railroaded out of there with some very nasty, underhanded campaigning on behalf of McCravey, even though McCravey wasn't running against Floyd. That's Senate versus House.
Yeah.
But McCravey stands behind Senator Billy Garrett
Okay.
and ran his campaign for him. I call it the McCravey machine.
Yeah.
And just some of the nastiness, the worst mailings that went out, PAC money flowing in, dark money you couldn't trace. And it just painted Floyd in a bad light. Then you throw Trump into the mix.
Oh, yeah.
And he, this is Floyd Nicholson's a saint. He really is. I mean, just the nicest guy in the world. Worked hard. He bled Greenwood.
Yeah.
Did so much, and we lost a lot
Yeah.
when he lost that seat. But he refused to get dirty.
Yeah.
That's not Floyd's nature. He says, I'm going to go to sleep at night comfortable by running a good, solid campaign. He never fought back. The previous people who ran against McCravey were somewhat the same way. They ran very nice campaigns, and they said, well, look, win or lose, I'm not going to do the same thing. Right. So we've already got some data points of what doesn't work. Now, I'm not going to run a mean campaign. I'm not into mudslinging, but I am into using facts
Sure.
and figures and the truth
Correct.
as weapons.
Right.
Because I can stand behind those all day long,
Yeah.
and they speak for themselves, and I'm not afraid to wield it. Plus, I have nothing to lose.
Yeah, of course.
If I don't win, I still go back to my job and everything, and I still work with the Democratic Party, and I'll still fight the good fight every day.
Yeah.
There's nothing he can do to me.
Yeah.
So I have no fear of
You
that.
bring the truth to cuffs.
Yes.
What have you found in McCravey's experience as being a representative for your district? What have you found that he has lacked in the most?
Oh, brutal honesty.
Yes.
He's lacked in. He's a guy who will say anything to support his extreme views, even if it's built on nothing.
Yeah.
So I'll give a perfect example. Critical race theory. This guy has got it hard for critical race theory for some reason. He got the marching orders from on high, from some sort of national coalition. He didn't think of this himself. No. And then he became the world's greatest outspoken proponent. He's never read a book on the subject. He doesn't know the 1619 Project from a hole in the ground. He doesn't know any of that.
Right.
That's ironic you mentioned that. I'm reading that right now.
So did I.
Okay.
So, what's all the hubbub about? Read it and find out
Yeah.
for yourself. So we can talk about that specifically. But he puts a post out on Facebook where he posts an article from Fitz News. So you're familiar with that source.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about the John De La Howe School of Agriculture in McCormick. And somebody got an aha moment where they took a camera and showed this PowerPoint presentation up on this big screen that had diversity and race and religion and a grid and, oppression and all that stuff, right? And McCravey's headline was, "They told us critical race theory was not being taught to our students. Here's proof." I was like, well, gosh, they got proof. Well, let's read the article and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
What it was a faculty training event. So I used to be a teacher.
Yeah.
You go through faculty training for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and there's a whole mess of topics you cover. And even back in the 90s when I taught, I had to go through diversity training because I'm going to experience families and cultures I had no experience with before.
Right.
So let's just open our minds and be aware of it. But it wasn't critical race theory. Anyhow, the article itself said it was faculty training, not taught to our students, faculty training.
Well, he didn't have to read. He saw a picture, and then
That's it.
Just assume.
That's it. So
And it's in the classroom.
It's
gotta be.
It's got words like diversity.
So that's where honesty, and he was called out on it in the comments because I called him out on it.
Yeah.
And, he comes back and says, 1619 is fake history. That was his retort. When I quoted the article saying it was not taught to students, his retort was, look over here, a squirrel.
And building a straw man out of a squirrel.
It's nuts. And so the whole platform that he goes by is just based on complete dishonesty and disregard for the facts. So they hold these hearings in Columbia all day long. Let's bring in testimony. Everybody line up, sign your name. We're going to have expert after expert speak. Not a single word gets through those ears.
Right.
Unless it's a pastor or somebody that shares his beliefs. Yeah. But otherwise, when a doctor speaks or a teacher speaks or an educated professional speaks, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, and he's been shown that kind of BS works for so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just about to ask him, as far as like mudslinging, like what do you think is taking it too far as far as campaigning?
For me personally?
Or just in general, like what do you look down upon? Like, okay, you didn't have to take it there.
Like attack ads and stuff.
Yeah, like, because they get pretty nasty when it comes to, gets close to that.
He leaves his dog outside in 98-degree weather.
I've actually seen that headline.
That
was an actual headline. I want to say it was a candidacy in Florida, but there was a candidate who went on to a newspaper editorial, wrote an article about how his opponent leaves his dog outside in the sun with no shade.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
If a dog's in a car, he tries to get the window up.
Which don't get me wrong. I think that's awful.
Yeah, it is,
if all that's true, then that's something that he needs to take care of. But that doesn't sound like a campaign slogan.
It has nothing to do with the fact of the matter.
Family. I figure people's families are probably off the card.
I don't know. It gets pretty bad.
I can't see him coming after family. That's Mr. Head of the family caucus isn't going to go after the family. What he's going to do is probably show aborted fetuses and then slap my face in the mix as if I'm doing the procedure. That's what I can see him doing.
Oh yeah.
Like put your face on edit your face on like a doctor doing the procedure. Like, this is him taking out.
But that's what they did to Floyd Nicholson was the mailings, and it was all about Floyd wants to kill your babies.
Wow.
And that was their campaign, and it had the effect. Plus, with Trump drawing out the numbers he did, he didn't stand a chance.
Right.
That's so. Just to mention your background.
Sure.
Bachelor's in physics and mathematics at Drew University. I studied and applied mathematics.
Hey.
So.
I know I liked you for a reason.
Well, then I was like, oh, there's radio.
Barrett's like, oh, too many numbers.
Master's of Science in Physics and a Master of Arts in Teaching from Binghamton University in New York. Binghamton also is where the Ponies play, which is where
Rumble Ponies.
Yeah, that's where Tebow went to after he got
got the boot.
Got too big for the Fireflies.
Well, he found good graces in the Mets organization to move him up after he got tortured. We want to
sell shirts too.
Yeah, facts. Everybody was like, "Yo."
Oh, they're still selling those Tebow jerseys. You walk through the sale the shop at the Fireflies games. They still have Tebow jerseys.
Oh, I might have to get one then. Y'all tripping?
I want to say they even got pinstripes.
Tripping. I gotta get one.
Tebow nothing.
You also taught college and high school.
I did.
That's experience. I think that makes
college, though.
That's a big deal when it comes to the who's in these campaigns now. Lisa Ellis is a teacher running against Weaver, who I'm not actually certain what it is she did up until the point she started campaigning. And that's not me knocking her. I
you don't have a teaching background,
You don't need a teaching background to be superintendent, I guess.
No.
Which is crazy.
In your experience, I assume then, based on what I've read, that schooling and education is one of your primary foundations that you're running with.
I grew up in the era of Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
Mr. Holland's Opus, Stand and Deliver.
Well, we're not that far separated.
I was inspired. So when I went off to college, my interest was math and physics. That's what my double major was, but I wanted to teach it. I wanted to be Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Okay.
That's why I said
Bill.
Before he sold out to the oil industry.
Yeah, man. Damn it,
I'm
Bill.
looking at BO before oil, Bill. That's what I wanted to be. So
you
I
went,
new
Bill.
I
when
went
we were
that.
in fifth grade, Bill.
Yeah.
Right. I want that version. So yes, education has always been absolutely a passion of mine. Teaching was what I wanted to be when I grew up. But weird things, what you study for 7 years may not necessarily be what you end up doing for a living. So
no, that's fact.
Were your parents teachers?
They are not. No, my parents were, they had me when they were 19, so they didn't get to do much of anything except raise kids.
Yeah.
My dad worked jobs, mom was 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
But you fast forward, I'll tell you this fun fact you don't know. My mom's a doctor now.
Okay.
Wow.
She actually went to college the same year I did.
No way.
And
Wow.
actually, no, she started community college my senior year of high school. In fact,
Gotcha.
she made me take some classes with her. So we took a class in college bio on Saturdays, and over the summer we took chemistry. We were lab partners, me and mom.
Oh,
Ain't that
that's
crazy?
pretty
You see that?
cool.
That's
But
awesome.
she went on.
Probably had some hot girl in the class like, Mom, I want to work with her, not you. Mom."
No, not that. That didn't happen. So you fast forward, and my mom worked her way through, got a 3.97 GPA.
Wow.
The only class she didn't get an A in was physics. Full ride to medical school, and became a doctor of osteopathic medicine in her mid-40s.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Thanksgiving and Christmas visits where like, remember that time I did better than you in physics?
Yeah,
You got the 3.97 GPA.
That
I
is
brought you in this world, I'll take you out.
right. But you talk about two self-made people. It was
Yeah,
them
that's
to
awesome.
work from 7-Elevens and gas stations.
Yeah.
And my dad's since passed. My mom's retired. She's still alive, and love them to death. But they instilled a sense of moral ethics in me. That
Yeah.
just,
Absolutely.
my dad gave me the sense of humor. My mom gave me the guilt. And, the two are constantly battling each other out.
Absolutely.
Seems like-
Italian mother, man.
Yes, sir.
Nobody's going to be able to question my moral code because my mom will come out and slap you.
he is quite literally hitting on virtually all of my mother's characteristics. Sorry, Mom. But because their last name was Zorzi, and Zorzi is an Italian Austrian. It straddles the border. But the humor and the guilt, and anyway, before I dig my hole any deeper, when it comes to business in Greenwood in your district, what are we looking at as far as like construction, industrial? Is it mostly tourism with the lake that close?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt the lake is big, but probably the number one industry in Greenwood is healthcare.
Okay.
So between Carolina Health Centers, Self Memorial, they've got pretty much their tendrils are in everywhere. So
Yeah.
there's I would say the healthcare is probably the biggest employer in that area.
When as far as what is the roads and things in Greenwood, because I know a lot of campaigns people discuss the infrastructure of how are the roads being taken care of right now in Greenwood.
I'm going to be the one guy that says it's not been that bad. I
Yeah.
mean, but then again, my perspective is learning to drive in New Jersey. So New Jersey is one big pothole.
Yeah.
Right.
So I come to South Carolina and like, oh, the roads are terrible. And I see the memes on TikTok,
Correct.
going from North Carolina to South Carolina.
Oh yeah, that was funny. That hit me up this morning.
Yeah. So yeah, there's bad areas. The roads for the most part, this is my personal, experience. And I'm sure maybe other counties have a different story, but it's not been terrible where I would put that as the number one priority we need to be looking at.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I used to ride my motorcycle from Lexington to Greenwood just on to go up there and see the lake and then ride back and whatnot. And
I can imagine that the closer you get to the lake, the roads are gonna be a little bit nicer. You know what I mean?
there's
I'll tell you what's funny. Is
Farther
that
away from the lake is probably when it gets worse.
you will see a sign that says "Road no longer maintained by state," and then that's where it gets bumpy.
Yeah.
And it's literally you can see the dividing line.
Yeah.
Of where the state employees turn around and say, "All right, we're done."
Yeah, that's it.
when they redistricted and grabbed the west side of Lake Greenwood. What was I can assume what the demographic is, but how many homes did they actually actual homes? Do you know if they pulled in when they redistricted and pulled that in?
Oh, it was certainly thousands.
It was thousands.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious because if I think of like Lake Murray, they don't have the homes are pretty spread out as far as that, but I guess the neighborhoods and whatnot.
It's golf clubs, it's
Yeah.
country clubs, it's houses. It's a lot of money that's up and down that lake.
Oh
Yeah. How we can get into this more into the second half of the episode, but when it comes to campaigning, what sort of response are you getting as far as you're now the guy that's coming in to try and beat the incumbent?
Yeah, it's not something I'm going to win in the traditional sense. Send out some mailers, put up a newspaper ad, get the book. You're not going to win that way. The only way I'm going to win this is the door to door.
Yeah.
Because I need people to get to know me.
Right.
And once they talk to me, they see I'm not a radical leftist, which is what I'm going to be portrayed as.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a middle-aged white guy, upper middle class, who's worked his way through, he's educated, and he can string a couple sentences together. And I'm not out there chanting and waving and burning flags or any of that stuff. And I'm just talking facts.
Yeah.
Saying, listen, the way things are now, the current legislators have failed the state miserably. If you go to my website, Kimler 4 Sanity SC, and that's the number 4, because I am a 4th, by the way, in terms of my name.
Oh, okay.
I'm a 4th. And my son's a 5th. So
Okay.
I have to put that
Keep
out
it
there
going.
just because I don't know any other 5ths but popes and kings.
Did you tell your son you gotta keep it going?
That's right.
You gotta keep it going.
But when I look at the numbers, so I'm a numbers guy, I'm a data guy. I don't get passionate just based on anecdotes. I want to look things up. I want to validate them. And the numbers in South Carolina are below pathetic.
Yes.
And if you go to my website, you will see a South Carolina legislative scorecard where I start to detail things out, like where does South Carolina rank in terms of mother and baby care, maternal care. We got a rating of an F from March of Dimes. Pathetic. How are we doing on STDs? F compared to other states.
Yeah.
And these are just cold numbers that you can't dispute, that while the current leaders in the state house are focused on 4 transgender students over 6 years, you know what? You may not like them. Okay, I get it, but you're focusing on that. Meanwhile, we got 360,000 children in this state below the federal poverty line.
Right.
Now, you tell me
Unacceptable.
why we're not having an ad hoc committee spending all summer on that issue is beyond me.
Right.
So the priorities are upside down. And,
Right.
and that is what I aim to be as a data evangelist. And I want to just wake some people up to the numbers that these legislators are wasting their precious time.
Can I read some of these too that you brought in here with us?
If you can.
Yeah. No,
He's gonna point out. He's gonna point out where South Carolina
People.
failed in his literacy.
Please help people.
Exhibit A.
So we're the 40th worst in poverty rate, 43rd in public education, 46th in financial independence, 8th worst to raise a family, and then 6th highest rate of shooting homicides.
That
To
one.
name a few.
That one's pretty alarming.
And you got to say that next one because you just can't leave that
Oh
one
yeah,
out.
one of only 2 states without a hate crimes bill.
That's
Sheesh.
insane.
I like even the next one. The only state in all 50 states that has no law governing the redistricting process.
Wow.
They've got a book
That's
of rules
insane.
and stuff, but it's not a law.
No.
So any year they want, they just make up whatever they want to do, and they go on tour and they give it a little dog and pony show. But there's no law.
Yeah, it's the unwritten rules of baseball of redistricting.
Yeah.
And then they just put the little, they
Guidelines.
put like the smallest sign out saying, hey, we're about to do a meeting.
Listen,
that nobody will know
I just
about.
want to point out, umpire discretion is a rule. That's part of it. They make their decision now. Well, I tell you,
plunk a guy when he's hitting too many homers.
as long as the umpire didn't see it.
Exactly.
So McCravey, even among his base, is not all that well liked. All right. Now he's Mr. Guns, he's Mr. Pro-Life, he's Mr. Anti crime, Mr. Police, and all that stuff. But he's also just a jerk.
Yeah.
I'll say that here. He's very condescending. He's holier than thou. I'll tell you a story of what's happening in our city recently. The city of Greenwood has had some problems recently with gun violence. Now, for Greenwood, it doesn't compare to what you may see in other cities, but it's a lot for a small city, and it's got the local leaders worried and the local police worried. So they reached out. The city council, the mayor reached out to the state legislators and say, hey, they sent a letter out over the summer, maybe even before the summer. It says, we'd like to get together with you and talk about what we can do together to reduce the crime rates and this gun violence problem we got. No response. 2 letters go out, no response. I had a couple of council members approach me and say they're ignoring our letters. They're ignoring them.
Yeah.
It finally hit the paper last week that the mayor is frustrated with it. So now John McCravey's embarrassed, right? And he's kind of caught off guard, whatever. He puts a letter out on Facebook, that his written letter back to the council, where he's not meeting with them because he's got business here in Columbia. He says, sorry, I can't join you for this roundtable that you've scheduled. Okay, I get it, scheduling. He says, but while I can't control what happens in the city of Greenwood, as a resident of the county, I am concerned. That's how he starts off. He's like, "Listen, assholes, this is your problem. You
So
drag
who
me
it may
into it."
concern?
And then he
it
goes
doesn't
on,
concern me.
And then he goes on and says, "Here's your problem," and then lists out 6 things on what they need to do as the city to fix their problem.
Do you think he just got into the right people's pockets, and that's the reason why he's where he is right now?
I don't know about pockets. No, I'm not going to presume I know any of those dealings.
Yeah.
I'm thinking he does fit the mold of upstate South Carolina. So
Sure.
Upstate South Carolina is where you find the extreme of the extreme.
Correct.
And John McCravey is right there at the top of the list. But even in the state house, he is not well liked personally. I was talking to a state house representative, and I've gotten to know quite a few during this process. They've been wonderful. And I'm not going to mention who it is, but they said to me that, like, look, you got to get along with both sides. You got to cross the aisle if you want to get anything done. You got to make friends. You got to be reasonable. You have to negotiate.
Right.
He says, I get along with everybody in the state house except that guy. That guy just brings pain to you, and we're trying to talk to him because he is not rational. He's not reasonable. He does not negotiate. He's just narrow focused, and he's got these blinders on, these holy blinders that he can't see beyond. So one thing that's really made his constituents mad was how he single-handedly sabotaged the Compassionate Care Act, the medical marijuana bill.
Right.
It went down because of him.
Wow.
That was
He
him.
was tapped on the shoulder. He said,
Oh yeah, he's got to get up out of there, dog.
We want you to lead the charge. He was tapped. He said, we want you to lead it. So he walks into the house. He's got his game plan. He knew from the beginning that he could kill this on the technicality because he had the speaker pro tempore, the temporary guy,
Right.
in-house. And it was all orchestrated, the whole thing between the two of them. So there was never a doubt.
It's
that
too
it was
much
going
money.
down.
Too much money.
And it was all over just maybe 2 lines in that bill that had been crafted and worked on for years.
And passed by the Senate.
Passed everything, and they had the votes in the House.
Yep.
But they bring up these 2 lines, and they wouldn't allow the amending of those 2 lines on technicalities.
That is insane.
So it's going to come up around again. And I tell you, if you want to guarantee that your veterans, that your people in pain, that those with MS, that those with other disabilities can get access to the most controlled substance, it's the most controlling language you'll ever see.
Right.
Correct.
Then vote me into office. I will guarantee that I'm a yes all the way.
yeah. That's fantastic.
And he's
Yes, sir.
angered a lot of people. A lot of his constituents were counting on it, and they see it as medicinal.
They probably smoke.
But you know what? He
Well-
wrote a letter explaining why he voted against it, why he was against it. So he says, 1, it's not necessary because there's other legal drugs out there that do the same thing. But you look up these legal
Addictive.
drugs, they don't treat the things that
Right.
medical marijuana does. They
Right.
don't. They're very controlled and limited in what they go after.
Yep.
And so like that argument just goes out the window. Again, facts matter.
Yep.
Then he brings up, well, there was that, was it American Idol or The Voice contestant that killed the family, was over at the beach. It was a big story here.
Oh man, I didn't hear
No,
about
I
it.
mean, either.
I missed that one too.
He was
But
high, and I think he was a contestant on The Voice.
He was high on what?
Marijuana.
That doesn't sound like a thing.
Right.
Well, and
But he was high, but he was intoxicated on marijuana while driving, impaired.
okay.
We'll call it
Okay. So
impaired.
he's driving a vehicle. I see.
But he's basically saying, hey, we'll take this one completely irrelevant incident that has nothing to do with controlled, legalized marijuana for medical conditions. And we're going to say, yeah, because of that, I'm against it.
That's
he should definitely look at DUIs and take away alcohol. if
Yeah,
he wants to do
alcohol's-
that.
alcohol's still
Practically
legal.
every drug while you're at it.
Yeah.
Around that one green accident, you have all these red ones for alcohol. You're
Yes.
going-
So it's absolutely irrational, and it's making people mad. And look, I've got liberal views, but to me, I don't want to focus on the liberal side of things.
sure.
Yeah.
We got real work that needs to get done. South
Exactly.
Carolina's got business to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
The government's got business, and they're not focused on the business. They're
Right.
focused on all these other fringe, national, social, divisive issues.
Right.
And you know what? I can't stand it.
There's there has to be some sort of a line drawn when it comes to the issues as far as they're going after teachers for critical race theory.
Yeah.
And this idea that we need to militarize our schools and
We'll fight some
things
real
like that.
crime, man.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I tell you what, let's take a break, and we'll come back after the commercials with Bill. He is again Bill Kimler, the South Carolina District 13 Democratic nominee. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come right back. This is the All About Nothing podcast. All right, Nothingers, I want to cue you in about a friend of the pod, Blank Canvas Brand. If you own a business or restaurant and the time has come to build that unique brand, you have got to get a hold of Blank Canvas Brand. Blank Canvas Brand specializes in brand identity, including logos, business cards, flyers, and anything else to promote your business. And now, Blank Canvas Brand offers printing services to help with your clothing needs, including sports teams. I can tell you from our own experience, Blank Canvas Brand is responsible for our logo, as well as the Bowl of Duty bowling team logo, and we couldn't be happier with what's been produced. For more information, you can search Facebook for Blank Canvas, or you can email Blank Canvas at theallaboutnothing.com. That's BLNKCANVS at theallaboutnothing.com. You can find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. Hey everyone, I want to take a quick moment to mention one of our new sponsors, thepaintedmoment.com. That's thepaintedmoment.com. Check this out. Have you ever taken a photo with your phone or digital camera that would look amazing as a watercolor canvas painting? Well, now there's a website ready to take your photo and turn it into digital painted moments. This is how it works. Visit thepaintedmoment.com, follow the instructions, and your digital photo will be enhanced and returned to you with links on where you can have an image printed to canvas or whatever else you'd like to do with it. We've already got a couple of these enhanced photos hanging around the house, and trust me, you'll love what comes out. Thepaintedmoment.com. Create a painted moment in time from your digital photos. Thepaintedmoment.com. Seriously, check them out today. Thepaintedmoment.com. What is a vaccine? What is a virus? What is a mask? What's a Sasquatch? These are all valid questions, and to answer them in one breath, prevention, potentially deadly, potentially life-saving, and don't be stupid. Look, the coronavirus from 2019 has caused a global pandemic that continues to ravage our planet, leaving victims and survivors. But you can do your part. In the United States, as well as most countries around the world, the COVID-19 vaccine is available at little to no cost. Regardless of your politics, this virus has the potential to cause irreparable harm to you and vulnerable family members and friends. We have an opportunity through the efforts of medical science to balance the scales against this disease and its variants. And look, I don't understand how the vaccine works, even though I've heard it described countless times by countless experts. And even though none of that makes any sense to me, I do recognize that the money and effort spent on the vaccine has not been wasted. And it's not a global positioning transmitter being embedded in your arm. You're holding that in your hand, listening to this. So get the vaccine. Protect yourself. Protect your loved ones. Hell, protect the guy standing behind you waiting on his taco supreme and nacho fries. Let that be the reason his organs shut down. For more information, visit covid19.nih.gov for actual science information. We have to thank our sponsor, GOT Sound Studio, and its owner and operator, Dominique Stewart, better known as Neek the Geek. GOT Sound Studios offers a variety of recording experiences from music, voice, and instrumental recordings and production, as well as podcasts. GOT Sound Studio is located in Columbia, South Carolina, and operated by the most talented producer and engineer in the business. GOT Sound Studio is a Black-owned business. Bring your recording business needs here. You can find details on their Facebook page or by calling 803-243-2302 or emailing gotsounds@theallaboutnothing.com. That's gotsounds@theallaboutnothing.com. You can find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com.
This is Sydney Clinton, your Democratic nominee for House District 98, and you're listening to the All About Nothing podcast.
All right, welcome back to the show. Barrett, Zach, Trent. We are joined by Bill Kimler, South Carolina State House 13.
Just hearing Sydney's voice on that intro.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like the grandpa of the freaking House representatives in this state. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan and Sydney and man.
How old was she? She's like 23?
She is,
20.
she's 20.
Wow.
She will turn 21 on September 18th, which is less than a month outside of the election. So in order for her to take her seat, she has to be 21 by the time, she stands in front and says.
Clearly they drink in there, right? They drink inside the house.
I mean, I got kids older than these candidates.
I was just thinking, I wish I had a functioning brain at 20 years old, much less.
She's impressive.
Yeah.
She is impressive. Ryan's impressive. And actually I heard from Ryan. I was talking to Ryan just earlier today. They'll be jumping out there and hitting the campaign real hard.
Yeah, if I was 20 and running for a seat, it definitely would have been some mudslinging because they had it on me back then.
You and me were dodging bullets at Eller Brothers.
Literally. Yeah, no, I was thoroughly impressed with Sydney and Ryan, and there's another gentleman who's running, who's also younger as well.
Chris Sally.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I
so-
appreciate you having me here. I mean, there's no other way I'm going to be able to get 1 million listeners for free like this. So this is awesome.
man. Speaking to existence, man. That's what I'm talking
Well, we've
about.
only got one view on the cameras now.
Oh well, I don't know.
Hey,
Is
Mom.
that one-
This is a work in progress. It's there's eventually this will all work perfectly.
Correct.
That's the idea. So Bill is here again. He's running for South Carolina's House District 13. We are discussing his campaign and the issues. One of the things that I've spoken with other candidates about is this idea of school security and trying to work our way around the fact that guns are here to stay. I mean, or that's what it feels like. So we've heard other candidates discuss, not here, on national news about hardening the schools and making it more difficult for someone that wants to come in and cause harm to be able to enter the schools. I obviously I support the idea of one entrance to a school as far as being maintained, visitors coming in.
I don't, but I do support metal detectors at every entrance.
So
we have the money for it.
But that's one of those things, I understand that.
If you're having that debate, that means you've given up on the problem.
Right.
You've just given up. You're like, I give up. Let's lock doors. Let's metal detectors. Let's have dogs sniffing everybody's butts. Let's put it. That means you've just given up.
Yeah.
And you put all that money and effort in the schools. What about the churches? What about the grocery stores? What about the sporting events? What about the rock concerts? You're going to be in a complete lockdown environment because you gave up. You go back to the source and say, how did that guy get the gun to begin with?
Right.
That's the only way you're going to solve this.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot cheaper to do so as well. Now, there's a way to do it without costing people the precious Second Amendment rights to bear arms. There's still a way that you can prevent Uvalde from happening through legal means and not sacrifice any freedoms in the process.
Yeah.
But going to turn every school, every public facility, you're sitting out watching a 4th of July parade. Well, we're going to stick a metal detector.
Right.
All right. So you've given up on the problem if that's the way we're going with the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I see about that, we just had another shooting in the airport, right? So I was just talking about that, how the lady got dropped off. I was talking this with my neighbor, and he was like, well, the lady got dropped off, and as soon as she walked in, that's whenever she started shooting, apparently.
She shot at the ceiling. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me and him was talking like, you have to go through TSA to get on the plane. Why isn't TSA right there when you walk in?
Why isn't the whole airport secured?
Like, yeah.
I agree with you.
Like, you can walk in with a
Right,
gun.
yeah. Why not have 5-hour-long lines out into the parking lot? That's a great idea.
I was gonna say we've because of 9/11 we've already created. I you guys may not remember this, but I remember. You would maybe, but I remember when I could walk into an airport, and you had to walk through security, but you weren't stopped if you didn't have a boarding pass. Like, we watched people leave and come.
You
I remember that.
go all the way to the gate.
Yeah.
And
I was met at the gate by family.
Yeah.
Who weren't, they were there to greet me.
Yeah, crap, you could have smoked in the plane back in the day.
Yeah. Yes. There was that. There was that.
And then we
come a
liked
long
it.
way.
We loved it.
Have we come a long way? Because you still
can't
can't
smoke in there.
You still can't use cell phones on it, like when the plane's taking off and landing.
Some planes have Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? You can pay for that Wi-Fi.
You want people to be upset about something. Be upset about that. Be upset about the fact that we have not created technology where the airplane works outside of the realm that the cell phones work. Now, but no, I agree. I think that ultimately, if it were up to me, I think that the time has come for our efforts to be spent more on trying to come up with a solution on how not to sell people guns that should not or are incapable of recognizing the responsibility of what that gun represents.
It all comes to gun safety. That's where the legislation should be. What can we do to make it safer? So we're not going to be, we compare ourselves to other nations, and we have a gun culture. It's borders on worship.
Oh,
but you know what?
It is worship.
But you know what? And that's fine. You're not going to stop it. And there's things I like, and there's things other people like, and bless them. I can't stand boiled peanuts. I don't
can't
get
either.
boiled peanuts. But you're not going to see me legislate against it.
No,
right?
no.
So
except for my wife when she's like, go across 4
but
lanes.
I would be totally for boiled peanut safety. To prevent me from getting the shits, if I get a bad batch. I would be for that. And the same thing with gun safety. There's things we can do to enact safer measures. I mean, the idea of open carry. I was telling you about this letter that John McCravey wrote to the city.
Right.
They're worried about the gun violence. McCravey's second idea in that letter was get rid of gun-free zones. That's your problem.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest event of the year in Greenwood is the barbecue festival.
Mm-hmm.
Brings people in from all over the nation for it.
Yeah.
Biggest crowds ever. It's a no-gun zone, right? The city wants to keep it safe. He says, I've had people complain to me that we didn't allow open carry at the barbecue festival. Now, we're having shootings over there in the projects and gang violence and so on. He's going to say, hey, we know what to solve it? Open carry at the barbecue festival. And it just floored me.
So as a candidate, I have to ask, what is the benefit to open carry versus concealed? Because I have a concealed weapons permit. I don't understand it, and what I hear is this idea that, well, if you see someone carrying a gun, then you're less likely to.
Okay, so the open carry itself doesn't bother me so much if it comes with proper permitting and training. I mean, I want to know that somebody who's packing and is showing it, I want at least the confidence this guy's been out to the range.
Yeah.
He knows how to use his weapon. He knows how to treat it properly. I was at a Chili's the other day. This is a true story. And there was a family sitting there, a guy and his kids and presumably his wife, and they were sitting there having a meal, and he was packing. He had his holster on. It was unclipped. It wasn't, the latch wasn't on. A guy who's sitting in the booth behind him could have just reached back
And
and
Slipped
grabbed
it right out.
and I was like, gosh, and to me, open carry, I'm okay with.
Right.
Stupid people open carrying who are not trained, who are not certified, who are not following proper guidances. That's what I do have a problem with, and that's where I think the effort should be on.
Especially you just go get a gun and be like, oh, well, I'm going to carry this around now.
Well, speaking of go getting a gun, I went to Walmart the other day, and their gun section is empty.
Yeah.
Completely.
They think they can only sell, like, shotguns.
Well, Walmart.
Nah, they didn't have no guns, in the gun section.
Yeah, Walmart made the decision though that they were not gonna. Because they used to sell rifles, and they made the decision about a year or two ago that they were no longer going to sell rifles.
Same thing with Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh, really?
So we have two areas of the gun violence problem. One is the mental health aspect, where you've got these young white, for the most part, males who are just completely deranged and they just go on shooting sprees. But then that's not the problem that we've got in Greenwood right now, although we are just a ticking time bomb. In fact, Greenwood has one of the earliest incidents of school shootings on record.
Really?
In fact, an elementary school I lived next to for a little while back in the 80s had a guy walk in. He was a little crazy and shot some kids. I mean,
Wow.
so that was back when it was just 2 or 3 made national news for months on end.
Yeah.
It didn't just become, it's another Saturday in the United States.
Yeah, facts.
But so you've got the crazy deranged who had no business owning a weapon, but then you've got this other culture where arguments and disagreements, you reach for the gun. So there's an anger and just a disrespect for life where our first resource is not bar fighting, fisticuffs, throwing each other around.
Right.
It's we go right for the gun.
Yeah.
And then there's something that's got to be done about just handling anger management.
That's all. And I think a lot of people get a power trip out of it, just owning a gun and go right for the gun when there's a disagreement. People are afraid of getting their ass beat.
Oh yeah, nobody's fighting no more.
No, they're just going to shoot somebody. And I think there's a massive lack of critical thinking in people, and that goes right back to being 43rd in public education. Let's try to get some critical thinking in things where it's not just knee-jerk reactions.
If I had a magic wand and I can only do 2 things, it would be 1, public health, and 2, public education.
Exactly.
All right. You get those 2 things into children in an early age, a lot of other problems disappear.
Absolutely.
Economic opportunities
Definitely.
open up, ideas and innovation open up, and it just everything takes care of itself from that point forward. But when you've skimped, the Department of Education here in South Carolina got decimated, right? So you've got the superintendent of schools, right? And what do? Well, they manage a team and a staff, and they do things for the schools in the state. They don't have a lot of legislative powers in and of themselves.
Right.
That's with the House. But they can do things administratively. Well, you go back 16 years when a Republican took it over, decimated, gutted it. Says, I don't need all this bureaucracy. And so now the schools don't have the support system from the state that they used to.
Right.
And we feel the effects of that today.
one of the things I also wanted to ask about, and of course I just drew a blank, but when it comes to the public health aspect, there are social programs that in South Carolina that are severely unfunded. We had the opportunity to expand Medicaid when COVID came through, and we chose not to. Yeah, the money's still there. It sounds like we're spending that on some infrastructure, roads. I guess we're expanding 26 all the way down to Charleston.
More roads. I told my wife this the other day. I was like, I'm tired of going down here because they're just adding more roads that they're not going to take care of.
Yeah.
Like, okay, thanks.
So, but mental health, one of the arguments you hear about the gun violence issue is mental health, but that's always what they go to. No one ever seems to follow up with, well, how do we address the mental health?
Well, then they reject any premise to fix the mental health.
Correct.
Like, oh, well, that's what kind of a background check you're going to go? How?
Right.
In fairness, Congress and the Senate and our president did sign a bipartisan bill.
Yes,
that
I did see that. Yeah.
That had some very rational, respectable gun safety measures, including mental health funding. Mm-hmm. Does it have every progressive's wish list? No, it does not. But there's nothing in that bill that's bad.
Right.
Every item on there was not we didn't have to compromise anything. Well, you can do all that, but then now we have to fund the NRA. There was nothing of that sort. This was a good bill through and through, and it just didn't get the recognition I think it deserved. It
did because it might have been a blurb on social media when it. I do agree with you. It should have been more because it was a good bill passed, and that took some aisle crossing like you mentioned before. It had to. That's how you get things done.
But oddly enough, I also believe a lot in personal responsibility.
Sure.
Right. So one of the battle cries against Democrats and liberals is they want a nanny state, and I don't see that being the case. I don't believe in just throwing money at problems. No. People have to meet them halfway. So you look at the problems in South Carolina and with people's health. Yes, severely underfunded programs. The medical infrastructure was crumbling. We saw that during COVID. Our hospitals, they had to convert children's wards into COVID triage centers.
Yep. Right.
And while all that was happening and while the doctors and nurses themselves were getting sick, we had Republicans protesting outside the hospital over vaccine mandates. They weren't there to help. They were there just to make it even more difficult.
It's like cognitive dissonance. You don't understand what you're doing.
But at the same time, you have to have people that take care of themselves and have to be educated on proper nutrition and exercise and all that. It's got to be a blend of the two. It can't just be the government fixing everything.
Right.
You got to meet halfway people.
And liberalism, even definitionally, is less government input on things and to be free to make your decisions and things like that.
That's what I believe. I really think that if you want to do something, do whatever is in your heart as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else.
Right.
Yes.
Physically, emotionally, or financially.
Right.
You want to wear what you want to wear. You want to think what you want to do. All that. Bless you. I don't think we should be legislating that one bit. It's a very simple philosophy. Now, the other side sees it differently. If they have a moral qualm with, let's say that the Bible teaches them boiled peanuts are evil, they're going to come out with an anti-boiled peanuts law because you can't eat that. We don't,
no, they wouldn't. They'd be like, well, we don't, just like the shrimp in the mixed cloth, we don't, we're going to stick with our boiled peanuts. That part is up for interpretation, but I'm right there with you. It's when the mass, and it seems to be a right-leaning thing that your religion is how this whole country should be doctrined. When the First Amendment protects you from that, cannot establish any law for a religion. I can't remember the verbatim.
Right. Basically, you can't establish a law
respecting religion.
Yeah, or that propagates religion, but also doesn't impact it negatively.
Yeah, it's a separation of church and state thing, and you kind of go like, people don't have to believe what you believe. Like, and abortion plays a big role into that.
100%.
So it's like, believe exactly what you want to believe. It's when you start telling other people that they should too.
And they have to believe it.
Have to. Yep. It's kind of like, no, I don't think so.
I'm going to tell this. You brought up abortion. So I think it's time to talk about that since that is the issue du jour. And my opponent, that is his single-threaded issue. He's focused on that. He's the leader of the ad hoc committee.
Right.
I mean, he's the one that put all that verbiage in. So I want to tell an unrelated but related story. Okay. I don't know if you caught this in your research, but I went through something this January that really gave me a crazy perspective on life. I donated a kidney back in January. and it went to a woman I didn't even know at the time was my aunt, but I didn't know she was my aunt.
Oh, really?
Wow.
There's a whole story there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll circle back to that. But the process was I had to go through a battery of tests for a year, and psychological and physical and financial. They really make sure that as a donor, because you're giving up a piece of your body,
You got to be okay.
they want to make sure it's the lowest risk thing I could ever do. And once I talked to people and realized how low risk it was, I said, sign me up. So I went through this long process, and my mom's a doctor. She's the one that first broached the subject that there was a need for a kidney. She's like, but look, this decision is yours. You don't, at any point, there is no pressure for you. You have up until the moment you sit on that operating table and they cut you, you can walk away.
Right.
Now, my aunt was on dialysis. She had chronic kidney failure. She was 1 week away from passing when this transplant took place because dialysis had failed. And so she only had literally days to live. So the timing worked out perfect. She's up in Pennsylvania. I was in Augusta at their transplant center. They shipped the kidney up. But her life truly depended upon that donation because there was none other in the nation that was available for her. None other.
Yeah.
Her life was in my hands. And yet, up until that last minute, I could still walk away and say no because it's my body.
Right.
Right. And one thing that we treasure in this country is our independence to control our own destiny above anything else, including life itself. What's that phrase? Give me liberty or give me death. Right. Liberty is treated as the most precious thing. And I did what I did willingly through a lot of prayer, through a lot of contemplation, through a lot of scientific studies and looking it up. But I did it willingly. Now, I don't see the difference between that and a woman who was impregnated against her will. Now being say, you know what, your liberty no longer matters. Yes, there may be another life. Even if you accept that premise that life begins at conception, which is a premise that philosophers have debated for, and theologians and scientists have debated for millennia, yet somehow South Carolina House Republicans figured out the answer.
They got it.
They got it. They figured out, we know what it is.
They got the right books, man. You know what I'm saying?
But even if you accept that premise that it's a life, your own life and your own bodily autonomy should supersede that if you buy into give me liberty or give me death.
It should.
It really should.
Correct.
And I'm not a woman, so this is the closest corollary I could come up to where another person's life depended on my body, and yet I was given that choice. I can't imagine a rape victim now being told by John McCravey, too bad. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
You will now need to suffer not just the 9 months if you see through it, through that, but for the rest of your life knowing you had to give birth to somebody against your will.
Right. Yeah. That's an excellent perspective on it too. I had something similar where I was going to donate bone marrow, but it ended up they switched over to peripheral stem cell donation. But the woman who needed it was on her last legs, and that is I never really thought about it in that way. That if you could have said no, you could have walked away. Her life was
just imagine. I woke up one day and somebody came to me and says, "Oh, by the way, you now have to give your kidney to this woman."
Yeah, right.
Against my will.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I can't even fathom that. Can't even. And then they write these laws.
Or that you can't.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Facts. Yeah.
So then they write these laws, which are just so vague and do not appreciate the complexity of life itself. So I'll share another story with you. I've got 2 grown children. They're lovely. One's 26. She's a nurse. Another is 23. He's in cybersecurity. They're doing great. Beautiful children. I love them to death.
Right.
There was another one in between that didn't make it because, healthy and everything, heartbeat, kicking, sucking the thumb. But at the 5th month, we got the news from the doctor that this child had anencephaly. Now, anencephaly is a condition where the brain stem doesn't close, which means the brain doesn't form, which means most of the skull doesn't form. You're basically just organs, right? But there's no brain activity. There's no cure. There's no treatment. You live maybe a couple hours, maybe a day or so at most, maybe a couple more in an extreme case, but it is a non-viable. Yeah. Now, you look at the law, and the law says if I detect the fetal heartbeat, it's a life. Suck it up.
Right.
Now I have to carry that for 9 months. And my wife and I at the time, I've remarried since, but the mother of my children, we had to go through this with the doctor, make a very difficult decision because this was our child.
Yeah. Right.
Christopher Allen was the name. We had names for this, our boy, right? And we had to go through this and end it, and because we got the terrible news. But by South Carolina law, the way it's written today and passed, there's a fetal heartbeat. Too bad. You have to finish this off.
And we had
that's gut-wrenching.
We had a lady, me, that was on here.
Yeah.
And what you're describing, what you had to do, they technically count that as an abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It was a termination of a pregnancy that met the definition of the law, and that just tells you how bad the law is.
It's awful.
Right.
Because if they were in that position and their hands were tied, they may be people who make those laws and stuff. Maybe they could get around it,
but you wouldn't hear about that. They're able to enclose that.
So there's a way to solve this issue where Republicans and Democrats and everybody in between, you work towards getting rid of unwanted pregnancies before they happen. You educate, you promote contraception instead of the opposite.
Right.
You build up a network of support that if a woman is concerned about financial problems or whatever, and that's why they're very nervous. All right, so we build an infrastructure to support that. I know they've got these crisis pregnancy centers, and to be honest, I know not much about it except what I hear in sound bites.
Yeah.
But let's just say that they're on the up and up, and there's a network there that will take care of the mother all the way through health care bills, helping train the mother, raise the child, and all that stuff. I'd be all for that if it truly was on the up and up.
Yeah.
Let's build abortion reversal pills, right? Yeah, I've heard a lot of buzz about that. If there truly was FDA approved, medically sound pills that reversed the abortion pill that you took, great. That's freedom of choice. I decided, you know what? I made a mistake. I think I want to continue with this. If there truly was a medically sound way to do it, I'd be for it.
Yeah.
But if you want to get rid of the abortions, let's attack it from everything, by every other means, other than just here's a law. Now, good luck.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to turn dangerous because
absolutely,
a lot of girls, they go out of town to get their bodies done and boobs and butt and stuff like that. They're just going to go to a doctor that's in another country and get this procedure.
That's if they have the money to do it.
Yeah.
This is.
It could be Mexico. You know what I mean?
Well, not everybody's going to agree, but this isn't a lie. The intention of overturning Roe versus Wade and then allowing states to decide that abortion is illegal at any, no exceptions, isn't. It has nothing to do with saving lives.
Not at all.
And this may just be my opinion, but Republicans are evangelical Republicans.
But if we didn't have the unwanted pregnancy to begin with, if we started young and introduced just frank, honest, age-appropriate sex education, that goes a very long way to stopping the problem before it becomes one. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to Catholic school. All right, so I'm studying the Bible, religion every day, but even there, we got sex education in the Catholic schools. Yes, it was taught by nuns and priests, which was a little awkward, but we got the facts laid out to us, and then that way you're not making mistakes.
I had a priest in a funeral once during his eulogy, during the funeral mass, talk about how much he missed sex.
Oh my!
This was
I think did we go to the same Catholic church?
I mean, but in high school, who taught you your sex ed? I remember
it was a health teacher.
It was my gym teacher.
We got it in middle school. It was
my gym teacher. Like, what does my gym teacher know about this? Like,
but you know what? It still was better than what I got from my dad, who gave me nothing.
All they showed us was a book. I mean, not a book, but a video of what sex was, what a condom does, how do you put the condom on.
So part of that is. There are states out there that are trying to get rid of even contraceptives.
Yeah.
There are states that are trying to make it illegal for a woman to protect herself from pregnancy.
The Plan B pills, all those are you can only get 3 now. Yeah. If you're trying to go get them.
Well, you saw that Florida State, the University of Florida is looking at putting in vending machines that actually have for $10 Plan B.
Good.
Well, it's $50 a pill, so they're giving it for 10. That's a
that's the thing is it's probably subsidized.
But this is where it comes to trying to impose your religious beliefs through law.
Right.
And if you took a look at the Jewish faith, where Israel has a amazingly pro-abortion policy, I wonder if half of these pro-Israel nuts out there, the evangelical pro-Israel crowd, knew that the government would pay for their women to have abortions.
Yeah. Well,
because of their beliefs.
And just to point this out, the Torah has several instances where God literally gives the instructions on how to do an abortion.
Yeah.
So I
think that the thing of all of it that really hit home for me is like my wife and I are about to try for our second, and this news came down, and the look in her eyes, and she's crying and genuinely afraid that if something like what unfortunately had happened to you happens, and she has to carry it all the way to term, that there is no other option, that everything's off the table. You don't get to decide anymore.
Oh, but they do say, well, we put in a provision for life of the mother. If the health of the mother's at risk. But to do that, you have to have sign off from the father. You have to have sign off from 2 doctors. You probably have to call your state representative to come and inspect themselves. It's just.
Let me look under the hood.
But that's
guy with a comb over and just like, I got this yellow club.
But now that is not the woman's liberty anymore.
No.
Now you're bringing other people in about her body.
She's having to get permission from people in order to get. I swear, the thing that scares me is that someday there's the potential that in some of these states that women won't be able to own property, women won't be able to vote, women won't be able to own a credit card without some husband or man or father that allows them to.
Look, America's great again like you guys wanted, and it's 1950.
Well, they say this is what happens when the dog catches the car. So that's a trope that's used.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, just saw, I think it's called Morningside polling. Some polling company has just been doing the generic ballot, the generic congressional ballot. And back in May, Democrats were -5.
Right.
They're now up to +8.
Yeah.
I mean, what accounts for that +13 swing? Well, what's happened between May and today?
Right.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And the extreme crowd, I think they just gone a little too far, and they're going to see it. And that's something that I think I can capitalize on. I've looked at the numbers. I know exactly what I need to win. And it ain't going to be just the Democrats coming out to vote.
Right.
Because they're not that much of them out there. Yeah. But those who are willing to talk and converse and hear somebody who's rational, I think things through, and I have a different set of priorities that are based on data, based on facts, based on evidence, I think we can win over enough.
I think so too.
Instead of door to door, man, you might want to just get a boat and just ride that lake on through, and I can get there with you, man, because I'm not invited on his boat outing. So you know what I mean. Just let me know if you need
Lake
a little.
Greenwood is where a lot of those boat Trump rallies occur.
I believe it.
You go out on Lake Murray, I'm just like, okay, I didn't realize.
There's a lot of people investing in those Trump 2024.
Oh, they're not on your
It's the guy
porches.
that's selling them and shaping. He's been.
They were thinking ahead. So we hit on marijuana. As far as now, and mentioning medical marijuana.
We did take a hit of marijuana.
Just a little bit. We didn't inhale though.
Just like Clinton.
Yeah. I guess the thing I want to ask, I assume have you seeked the endorsement from NORML?
I have not.
Okay. One of the things that I have found with some of the Democratic candidates is they have already stated gung-ho that legalization completely of marijuana, not just medical, but for use recreational. Thank you. Can't think of the word.
I got you.
That's what they seek. And you've mentioned medical marijuana. Is full legalization and decriminalization something that you would, if brought to the floor, that you potentially would vote in favor of?
One thing that I believe a legislator should be able to do is say, I don't know when they don't know.
Yes.
So,
I don't know.
So, you expect legislators to be wise, old answers to everything, and McGravy certainly thinks he has an answer for everything. But I'll say in this case, I don't know enough about the impacts of legalized marijuana. I've heard the arguments for and against, great for business. I love expungement of records for what we call it a minor crime, and let's not ruin somebody's life over it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people in jail right now.
What's the impact of full legalization like in Colorado? I honestly don't know the answer to that. So I would want to truly take the time, bring in some experts. Let's hear them do it. I can't research everything.
Right.
I've already done my time studying physics and quantum, thermodynamics. I'm tired. Let's let some other experts come in and let me know what's what.
Well, you understand the importance of research then.
Yes.
So that then follows up with the question: South Carolina is not doing anything right now as far as grants for the effects of legalization of marijuana. There isn't any medical research being done.
There is no greater sin out there than to refuse knowledge.
Yeah.
So you've got that issue at a national level. You have got legislation that prevents the CDC from examining gun violence and the impact on doing scientific studies is forbidden.
Right.
To refuse knowledge is the greatest sin out there, because if you're afraid of what the results are and they work, and you're against you, then let's not study it. To me, I'm going to go with wherever the facts go.
Exactly.
If it turns out that legalizing marijuana in Colorado led to a spike in deaths or a spike in boiled peanut cravings or something, then
Definitely going to crave some peanuts.
Cancel it. The peanuts out of here.
You got to look into that. But so no, if I was to win this election, my top issue is not going to be on full legalization of marijuana. Now, on the medical cannabis, there's an absolute need for this now.
Yeah.
I have read the medical studies on this. I have looked at what the opposing views are, and I just found them to be ludicrous and unsubstantiated.
Absolutely.
And they're worried about slippery slopes. You know what? It was such a huge climb just to get to this level.
Right.
There's no slippery slope. There's only more mountains to climb.
Yeah.
So we'll address that 20 years from now when South Carolina is ready to discuss it. But right now, we've got
Glad
an immediate,
you know it's 20 years from now.
we've got an
it's no
immediate
time
bill
soon.
that could have some true positive impact on the health of South Carolinians, and that needs to be addressed right away.
So the idea is realistic bills. Go for the legislation that's realistic, that could make a positive change now. Don't shoot for the stars just yet.
No. There's certain areas where we can certainly be shooting for stars.
Okay.
So I'm not going to dismiss it just for that. I'm not going to say my whole policies are
Sure.
pragmatic.
Right.
I'm just saying I don't know enough. Now, if somebody comes to me tomorrow with the most compelling case in the universe,
And you're the first person first politician I've heard say that, just like Zach.
Yeah.
Giving you credit. And I want to thank you for that because you
No.
don't hear a lot of that.
now what
fully
I need
admit.
you three to do is move your ass to Greenwood so you can vote for me.
Right,
Hey,
yeah,
man,
I need
you
every
gotta
vote I
say-
can
Hey,
get.
man,
I was like,
hey,
damn, Bill, now I want to
set us
vote
up
for you.
set us up a house and a boat, man. You got it.
House and a boat. So it's all
There
about
may be
the
laws
boat.
against doing that. I'm not sure. Check those ethics violations.
No, but if you hold a picnic and you ask us to come out there and step in front of the microphone,
Definitely
Sure.
stepping in front of it.
we'll slow down on the rhetoric that we normally jump at. But
Plus, if we have to wait 20 years for the marijuana thing, we'll be Barrett's age by then, Trent.
Well, yeah. Then we can get senior citizens
He's staring
discounts.
down at me.
see, it always comes to that. I didn't even bring it up, or maybe I did.
You did.
Bill, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Bill.
I want to point out they can go to your website to find any information. It's
Kimler.
Yeah.
4, the number 4, Sanity SC. So yeah, I went with a website name that kind of sticks out a little bit.
yeah.
It's
You know,
easy.
I could have just said Kimler for House 13 and be done
Yeah.
with it, but no, people are going to remember Kimler for Sanity because it is so insane what I'm seeing they're prioritizing in Columbia
is.
today. It is upside down. I don't even have to agree with you on the topics.
Yeah.
But there are many more important topics we need to be going after than what they've spent the last 4 years doing.
Yeah, let's start on the ground level, like the stuff that's going to impact people here and right now, not just the, like you said before, the super divisive. hot
Do they
button
really
thing.
need to save women's sports? Women's sports in danger.
No, don't
Really?
do that. You about to get canceled, sir.
Really?
Hey, Bill Burr had it
Damn.
perfect on his new stand-up. He nailed it on his new stand-up, so I'm right there
I
with
still
it.
ain't seen it yet, so don't ruin it for me.
Okay.
Donations. How's that coming in?
That's a fun story, but I wish I had another hour in a podcast. 'Cause, so last quarter for Greenwood, for a Democrat in my district, came close to $10,000. First time candidate.
That's fantastic.
My
Yeah, that is
opponent
nice.
lost $600. In fact, he got like 6,000 some in donations and had to refund over 7,000, including to his own law firm.
Wow.
He refunded, and when it got asked about in the paper, because this is all public record,
Sure.
he says, "Well, I think there may have been some ethics things that we were trying to avoid because you can only give as an individual $1,000 in an election cycle,
Right.
And he had people that were given 2,000,
Oh,
and so
right.
in fact, I've gone through his data. He's missed some. in his refunds.
There's more there, sir.
I'd be happy, John McCravey, to help you out with your financial situation because apparently you're a little focused on something else.
I've got an
send it
Excel
on down.
spreadsheet.
But you know what? I make fun of that, but there's a reality that he is sitting on a $38,000 war chest.
Right.
So he's been campaigning and fundraising for 6 years. And one thing I learned as a new candidate, you don't have to spend it. You could sit on that forever until you're out of office, and then you clear out the bank account. But as you're an active member, you just sit on it, let it grow. Right. You don't have to spend it on your next campaign, especially if you have a weak opponent. So my goal is to be somebody that he's forced to spend money on.
Yeah. Act Blue is where donations can come in for you.
Sure, I have a P.O. box. It's all on the website, right on the front page. First thing you'll see.
All right. Well, we've got all your information in the show notes.
If you like what you've heard and you want to see it in print, you want to see it on billboards, you want to see it digital ads, man, I got good material.
There you go.
You know, that's one thing I know.
And if we've learned anything, it's absolutely that.
Yeah.
Yes. Wait till you see my anti-boiled peanut campaign.
I am so looking forward to it.
You got a voter in this, man.
Sticker on it and everything.
That's it.
Yeah, and I just want to point out again, all the information is in the show notes, so you can find Bill's website as well as all the social media and a link directly to donations. And you don't have to live in District 13 to pass donations on.
My ex-wife in New York donated to my campaign.
Well,
that doesn't tell you about my character. Nothing will.
That says a lot.
Yeah, man. If your ex-wife is still giving you money and you're not taking the money from you, you got it.
Doing something right.
I can't imagine a scenario where my ex-wife isn't like still stabbing some
even look at you.
doll. Yeah.
It's like bear.
Every relationship.
Kept singing Arlo Guthrie.
Anything else that you want to talk about before we cut?
I do, but it would be another hour, so I appreciate it.
Well,
this
then
is too much fun.
What we'll do is we'll try and have you back again because I
want to have you broadcast my victory party.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
want to have you down for that.
Man, we'll be
It'll
there.
I tell you what, if I win like I think I can, it's going to send shockwaves. Not just through South Carolina, but nationally.
Yeah,
Nice.
Nationally, this is going to be the story that gets told on Pod Save America.
Hey,
Yes,
we'll have a boiled peanut burning as well.
A big bowl of peanut. That was
So
just
They don't burn too good. They're wet.
The thing I'm getting out of this is dry peanuts good, wet
Yeah.
peanuts bad.
Correct.
Okay.
Slimy dog turds. No one needs that.
Real quick before we get out of here, I want to make sure if you haven't already, check your voter registration and keep doing it up until the election because there are games being played across the country. You can head over to our website and scroll. There's actually a link now. I put a box that you can check your voter registration directly from our website.
That's awesome.
Yeah. As well, I want to mention election poll clerks and managers are needed for the November 8th general election. We saw in the primary as well as the runoff that there were polling locations all over the place that were closed. Not necessarily weren't available. You had to go to another polling location. But
just weren't staffed.
Yeah, we didn't have the staff in Lexington, any of the counties. Everybody's running dry. This is one of those situations I think that was exaggerated by COVID, and we're not seeing the return of a number of because for the most part it's retirees.
Yeah.
That's who shows up.
Listen, when you've lost 1 million Americans,
Yeah.
on top of your normal death rate, so even if you're a COVID denier and you believe it was blown out of proportion, 1 million more people died over the course of 2 years than normally had in years past.
Yeah.
That's going to impact the jobs, the labor force, the volunteers,
Absolutely.
everything. So you talk about the struggles we're having. We keep forgetting we lost 1 million damn people. And
Yeah.
I know a good number of them.
Yeah.
Me too.
Every one of us know it, and our mind just can't seem to wrap it around 1 million. And you talk about a lot of the problems we have today. There's the root cause right there.
Yeah.
It's still lingering. Still
Well,
losing people.
If you're able and you're interested, do me a favor, go to Google and just search for election poll worker with your zip code, and they will give you the information. You'll find the information to the county seat, telephone numbers, whatnot. Just volunteer. You get paid for it. There's nowhere in this entire country where you don't get paid to be a poll worker. It's not a lot of money. It's a 14, 15-hour job for the day. You do have to go through training, but ultimately when there are enough people staffing the polling locations, then that shores up. Everyone gets to vote.
You think people are just tired of that camera being on them as they're counting? And like Fox News in the background, like, oh, he missed one.
Tapping on the glass.
I want to say most of those people aren't coming back.
Oh yeah,
Because if you watch the election hearing, or the January 6th hearing, there was the story of the woman in Fulton County, her and her mother, the death threats and like
that's what I'm saying.
done.
Like once your face is on that TV,
Yeah, they're done.
It's
So
hard to do.
all right, guys, thank you for being here to do the program. Bill, thank you very much.
Bill,
it was terrific.
Bill.
I want to see you get elected. Any chance for any debates coming up?
I have never seen a debate happen.
That is a shame.
I've seen forums.
We got to
in the
start
past,
running debates, man.
But you know what? I have an opinion about debates.
Okay.
I honestly don't know how effective they are in persuading anybody. So let's say I go up there. Let's say I kick ass, wipe them up and down. You think any of his supporters are going to flip over to me because of it?
No,
Right.
It just
No, you're
just
right.
reinforces. They just think of the Biden-Trump debates. It didn't change one vote.
Yeah, you're right.
It really didn't. So I don't know that a debate does anything but make your people feel good about you.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But if there is one, I'll show up. They do have at Cokesbury College. It's a historic college. It's not an active college. They have what's called the stump speeches. So all the politicians typically go there. They give their spiel. I've been to them every year.
Nice.
They're a lot of fun. But this will be my first time giving a speech.
Oh, that'll
So
be-
I've seen them. They are all very boring. They're very predictable. They have not seen the likes of me come through.
How are you going to make yours different? Your speech. What do you
Well, I
gonna
may
do
show
to-
up dressed in drag.
That's what I'm talking about.
Who knows?
Affairs will love it.
AJ, right
I'm
here.
gonna leave it
Paris
as a
Affairs will
game
love it.
time decision, but it'll certainly be different than the normal spiel. It'll be I'm not gonna put on a show. I'm not gonna put on an act. They're gonna see me,
Yeah.
but they have not seen the likes of me before.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that.
Awesome. As always, thank you, Neek the Geek, engineer and producer, owner and operator of GOT Sound Studio. Check out details on how you can utilize his talent and production expertise at gotsoundstudio.com. Thanks to Muff the Producer. You can follow him on Instagram at Muff the Producer. Thanks to Shiana Rivers for our intro and outro. Follow her podcast, Who You Callin' Holistic. As well, thanks to Trent Clark, aka DJ Lonzo, currently entertaining the main course in Columbia, South Carolina. Make sure to go by, have a good time. You can contact Trent for all your entertainment needs. Trent at theallaboutnothing.com and on Instagram at TheRealDJLonzo or by phone 803-262-7982. If you enjoy the show, consider becoming a patron by visiting our website and clicking on the link at the top of the browser. That will take you over to our Patreon page. You can find details on how you become a supporter. You can check out our benefits there or just consider a donation so that we can continue to bring you this nonsense. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy you enjoying it. As always, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for All About Nothing US, on Twitter and Instagram at AAN_pod, or find links to all of our social media and available podcast platforms by visiting theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you may call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is too far apart, you can fill that time by checking out our partner podcasts. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons, available on most of your podcast platforms. You can visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Carrie and Chrissy host Status Macabre on most of the podcast platforms as well. Find details at statusmacabre.com. As well, you can check out our own DJ Lonzo's Top 5, hosted by Trent Clark, available on most of your podcast listening platforms. All right, Bill Kimler is the Democratic nominee for South Carolina House Seat 13 here in South Carolina. So make sure that, check out the webpage because there's a lot of information there that may find you align more directly with him than with McCreevy because apparently he's a one-topic campaigner candidate. So, all right.
One trick pony.
Yeah, there you go. That was probably what I was looking for to say.
I gotcha.
All right. The All About Nothing podcast. Thank you very much, Zach King. Thank you very much, Trent Clark. Everybody stay safe and
Have a week.
This The All About Nothing podcast is recorded live from the Maddie Johnson podcast studio at GOT Sound Studio in Columbia, South Carolina. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by Neek the Geek, owner and operator of GOT Sound Studio. To support the show, please visit theallaboutnothing.com for links to social media, merchandise, and more. Become a patron of the show by following the Patreon link at the top of our page. The All About Nothing podcast is an entertainment product of Barrett Gruber. Special thanks to Zach King, Trent Clark, Muff the Producer, Neek the Geek, and you, our listeners. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share. If you're on YouTube, please hit the like button and the notification bell. Thank you for listening.
The All About Nothing podcast is a part of the GOT Podcast Network and a product of Barrett Gruber Entertainment and Media.